Well, Sacramento County's oldest cold case has finally been solved 52 years later after a county court reporter was murdered. Authorities say they know who the suspected killer is.
Officials have named a suspect for the first time in the killing of a Sacramento court reporter.
In Sacramento, California, the county juvenile court employed Nancy Bennallack as their court reporter. Nancy, who was 28 years old, was a lone resident of a second-floor apartment in Sacramento off of Bell Street. She was engaged to Ferris Salami, the chief assistant public defender in the county. Everything was going so smooth for Nancy. What then happened all of a sudden on the night of October 25th that took her life and snatched everything from her? And how was her case finally solved in 2022, nearly 52 years later? Welcome to Bizarre Cases, and now we're exploring the Nancy Bennallack case and the mystery behind her murder and how it was solved 52 years later. So without any further ado, let's walk out onto the edge of the unknown. California is renowned for its expansive, bountiful terrain, which many other U.S. states enviously compare to due to its stunning Pacific beaches, healthy forests, cutting-edge arts and technologies, and breezy Mediterranean climate. The same California, however, was left in a state of shock when it came face to face with a brutal murder of an innocent 28-year-old. The evening of October 24th, 1970, the night before she passed away, Nancy Bennallack had dinner with her fiancé, Ferris Salami. She spent the day with Ferris, and by 11:30 p.m., she was asleep. The following morning at 9 o'clock, she was expected at work. A friend was sent to her apartment to check on her when she didn't show up. The companion entered the flat with the assistance of the property management and discovered Nancy dead on her bedroom floor. Over 30 times she was stabbed with a sharp knife. Her head was almost severed. Bennallack was asleep in her bed when the suspect broke into her apartment sometime between 11:30 p.m. on October 25th and the early morning hours of October 26th, according to Mickey Lynx, a retired sergeant from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department.
Sometime between the hours of 11:30 and on October 25th and the early morning hours of October 26th, the suspect gained entry into the victim's apartment by climbing up to the second-story balcony and going in through the slider.
The suspect did this by climbing up to the second-story balcony and going through an open slider. Before entering Bennallack's apartment, the man climbed over the balcony while wearing tape on his fingers. The attacker nearly severed Bennallack's head while stabbing her over 30 times. She had fought for her life as evidenced by the numerous defensive wounds that she received on her hands and arms.
The suspect stabbed the victim over 30 times. The victim sustained numerous defensive wounds on her hands and arms, indicating that she fought with the suspect.
Bennallack had spent the evening with her fiancé, Chief Public Defender Ferris Salami, hours before she had passed away. In a few weeks, the two were to wed. Salami left Bennallack's apartment at around 11:30 p.m. to head back to his own house. At that time, he disclosed to detectives that after leaving the Bell Street flat, she lived in a second-story apartment, and she had the sliding glass door opened a little bit because she had a cat, and she wanted to make sure that the cat could go in and out.
Mr. Salami told investigators at that time that Nancy was asleep in her bed. The apartment was an upstairs apartment, and the sliding glass door to the apartment was open to the bedroom, just slightly so that Nancy's cat could go in and out of the apartment.
Someone scaled the fence that evening while Bennallack slept and entered her apartment through the unlocked balcony door. She was discovered deceased the following day. Investigators discovered a blood trail after the murder that started on the balcony, traveled along the walkway beneath and around the apartment complex buildings, and finished in the parking lot. Investigators found that the suspect had injured himself while committing the crime and may have driven away from the site. Although a DNA profile wasn't created from the blood samples until 2004, a check of the state and federal CODIS databases turned up no matches to a criminal. The culprit was identified by detectives as Richard John Davis on July 21st, 2022.
On July 21st, we identified the suspect as Richard John Davis.
Richard John Davis lived in Sacramento for a very long time, and he lived in an apartment complex that was close to Nancy Bennallack, and he would have been 27 years old at the time of the murder. He had a clear view of her apartment because his was just across from hers. It is thought that he might have been following her. Davis had a history of multiple DUIs, but no violent convictions. Davis passed away from alcoholism-related problems in 1997 at the age of 54. It has been said that justice can sleep for years and awaken when it is least expected. A miracle is nothing more than dormant justice from another time arriving to compensate those it has cruelly abandoned, Schubert said. Despite the breakthrough, authorities revealed that Davis died in Sacramento County on November 2, 1997. He had no violent prior arrests, though he did have a reported DUI. But clearly, he intended to do what he did that day. He put masking tape on every one of his fingers to conceal his fingerprints. If he were alive, we would be talking about a premeditated murder. Due to the fact that Richard Davis is deceased, sadly there won't be any form of legal justice. But Linda and Tom, I hope this brings you, Nancy, and your family some peace. And emotional links told the Bennallack family who were at the press conference. In a statement, her sister, Linda Cox, thanked officials for cracking the case, adding, "Truthfully, I was almost giving up on ever solving Nancy's case." Now, when we talk about dormant justice and a miracle, there is no doubt that justice in this case was dormant for decades. Over the years, for those of us who worked in the courthouse, I often got asked by court reporters what was going on with Nancy's case. Nancy was never forgotten. She was always top of the list, Schubert said. Do you also think that Nancy got her justice too late? What do you think that Richard Davis deserved for his heinous crime? Please let us know in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more such content. And we'll see you in the next video.